Hi, this is Wesley,
This is Ka'Shenia.
and we would like to welcome you to the Underground
Geek Shack. Oof, it's been a while, buddy, hasn't it?
Oh, definitely, especially since we've had to do a Zoom edition of this.
Yeah. I don't know if it's obvious, but there are certain situations as to why I can't be physically present to do recording today. But I still needed to do this recording.
Yep.
So we decided the best course of action would be through Zoom,
like the good old days.
like the good old days. Before we continue going on, I feel like there's an important announcement that Wesley would like to make. Wesley, what was your greatest accomplishment within the last week?
Well, the greatest accomplishment that I've had within this last week is that your boy has finally graduated with his bachelor's degree.
There we go. My boy's finally graduated. He is in the adult world. I was like, when he told me, oh my gosh, I know that this is sidetracking, but when he told me that, hey, my graduation is next Friday, do you want to come? I was like, what? Next Friday? You're graduating?
Actually, that was a lot of people's responses. They were like, what?
I was like, I knew he was graduating, but I was like, oh my god, it's so soon. My boy's grown up so fast. But yeah, sorry about that. I just wanted to put that announcement out there because I'm so happy that you have finally graduated.
Yeah, me too. Now I'm slowly putting out older episodes that you and me have done. So
yeah,
that's the only... Videos are still going to be coming out the same. It's just all the audio that Ka'Shenia and Shane and the rest of us have put out, I've just been holding back on since I've been doing school. So those are slowly coming out. So if you guys hear us say, we like the summertime, but it's too hot, that's the reason why.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I'm just, yeah, because it's been a while since we last recorded. To put things in perspective, our last actual recording session was before October.
Yeah.
With me and him. He's done recording sessions with everyone else, but life has caught up to me and I just have not been able to record, and I am so happy to finally be back.
Oh, it's good to have you back too.
But enough with background information as to how this recording came to be. Let's go into the recording session.
Okay. Hey, do you want to know something?
What, buddy?
Everyone can be a hero.
I feel like that's been like the freaking statement for the last 3 movies.
I think so.
For those of you who don't know, today's episode is going to be about the latest My Hero Academia My Hero
Academia World Heroes Mission. I'm gonna show you guys it right here. Look at it.
Yeah, look at him. Look at this dude. This dude was able to freaking go to the first showing. Yeah, you know what? How about you tell them how you got that manga, Wesley?
Yeah. So my brother and I, we went to the first showing, and we got this. And the first thing that the guy said at the ticket counter, he was like, "Whatever you do not open this up while you're in the movie because it's going to spoil it for you." And I was like, "Noted. I'm gonna read this once I'm done with the movie." He said, "That's that smart man."
Said, duly noted. Yeah, I unfortunately was not lucky enough to go to the first showing. I think when I eventually went to see the movie, it's been like a good 2 weeks after it came out. But I mean, it was still pretty good, even though I didn't get a fancy freaking manga with it, but it's fine. I'm not upset. So I think the important thing that we should both say is that we both watched the movie in dub.
Yeah.
So one, it's the way that I've been watching the anime is in dub, and I went to go see it with my now fiance.
Yeah.
We went and saw it because we both watched the anime in dub. However, he's a lot further than I am. So yeah, that's another thing I should say. I, due to situations with my life right now, I am still only on the end of season 3. I know that there were spoilers in this movie. Well, not really spoilers, but character spoilers for seasons 4 and 5 in this movie. But my knowledge as of right now is just the end of season 3 and slightly into season 4, but that's because of manga.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say that. What
Yeah.
is your current status when it comes to the My Hero Academia movie?
Already caught up to the manga, and I have already finished season 5 of the anime. So,
Alrighty then. Alright. Wait, season 5's finished?
yeah.
Oh my, I need to freaking catch up. I'm so behind. Oh my
Yeah,
god.
season 5 finished up, but the one thing I will say is that you know how most times whenever My Hero Academia ends, it gives off the, stay tuned for season 4 or whatever. Yeah, not with this one.
What?
Yeah.
I
I was like, we're just not gonna show it? Okay.
Alright, you know what? I'm gonna have to catch up and find out why. I know we're not gonna talk about it a lot in this episode, but I know that there's been slight controversy with the anime when it comes to the portrayal of the manga.
That's only because like for season 5, it's only because like some of the arcs got switched around. So
okay. Alright.
Yeah, don't worry. I was a little bit heated going into season 5 when I heard they were switching around two of the major arcs, and I was like, you can't do this. Why are you doing this?
Oh no. I feel like when I eventually catch up, and I actually catch up in both manga and in the anime, I'll have more to say about this. But for right now, let's go back to World Heroes Mission. I'm gonna mess up the title of this movie so much. So, let's start off with our positive thoughts of the movie. I have to say, this was emotional. This was this My Hero Academia. This movie was on a very it was darker than what I'm used to. I know that My Hero Academia isn't always bright. There are some dark undertones about it, but I feel like it's not focused on it. If you get what I mean.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of on-screen deaths. Literally, the way this movie opens is you see the death of an entire city of people who have quirks because they released the the enactors, or they released that gas that causes quirk to...
that green gas that was coming up from the sewers.
Yeah, and I was just so surprised that they were just like, yeah, you know what? Let's just kill a bunch of people on screen. I was not ready for this.
Yeah, I wasn't ready for it. And then you also had people there who were like, oh, you are one of the chosen who was not affected by this. And I'm like, who are you people?
Yeah, for them to go down a cult route with this movie. Okay, so let's base this off of the movies that I've seen so far. I've only seen the second one. So comparing this back to the second one, it's just, I don't know, it didn't seem as dark. It didn't seem as grand. Yes, the villains were very evil, but they just did not seem as dark as Humorize in this movie. Because let me tell you, for them to just be like, we're just going to annihilate the entire world to where only the pure humans are left over. And my thing is, their leader had a quirk. They had people in their cult who had quirks.
Yeah. And I'm like, wait a minute. You're over here trying to eliminate people who have quirks. That means half of the people in your cult are gonna get wiped out. You yourself is gonna get wiped out.
Actually, you know what's funny? It's funny because towards the end during the fight against those who had quirks, they said themselves, we have been chosen by Fleck Turn, and we are going to survive the purge. And I was like, oh, either this is an empty promise or something is going to happen if the plan was to have followed through to where they would be the last surviving ones. But yeah, I was just like, this is so dark for My Hero Academia, because these are students. These are just students.
Yep.
And we're just going to immediately throw them into very serious danger into this.
But then again, we have not only students, because this one encapsulated almost everyone. We had students from Class 1A, Class 1B. We had actual pro heroes from around the world. And I was
Salam. I hate Salam. Freaking, let me just I'm flat as paper and watch me run at super speeds. I was like, I hate this man.
And Salam, we had Big Red Dot, and I'm like, what in the world? Who are you people?
Like, it was so cool to see these, but I don't know why. Just as soon as I saw Salam on screen and I realized what his quirk was, I was like, I hate it. I hate everything about this character. It's this one character. I hate him. Oh my god.
I just remember that, like, when my brother and I went to go see the movie, right? And, you know, like, when they were showing off, like, all the different people from Class 1A, how they were spread out, you know, all over the world. And then I remember my brother and I, we looked at each other, and we were like, wait a minute, how are you only gonna leave 2 people in Japan?
Oh yeah, and you know what? I realized it wasn't all of Class 1A either, because I Can't Stop Twinkling, Ayama wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
Ida wasn't there either.
Yeah.
There was like a few characters. No, not the one with the tail. He was still there.
Yeah, he was there.
Invisigirl was still there, I do believe.
Yeah, she was there too.
Yeah, there was like, I think like 5 students who ended up not going on the mission. I'm just like, so you're going to include everybody, but not include everybody. Okay, I see how it is.
Yeah. Yeah, because like toward the end, like during like the whole end credit scene, you just see everyone walking back into the dorm and you're like, where the heck were you guys?
Y'all guys were just here the whole time, just chilling out. I see how it is. All right, but getting back to the positives. So I like how they went with a darker tone. This was very unexpected.
The action scenes were really good.
Yeah, the action scenes were also really good. The animation, superb.
Oh yeah.
A couple of the music choices I find okay. We're gonna talk more about that later. I know that's a gripe with you. And let's see. This was also a tearjerker.
True.
I cried a little bit towards the end there.
You're not wrong. I did cry too.
Like, there was man, freaking Rhodey and Pino. Oh no. They don't die, but it comes close to it, and you're just like, oh no, are they gonna die? Oh no! It was really, really sad. I was gripping onto my fiance's hand, and I was like, I will cry.
And then we also have Deku going 100% for the first time.
Yes. Also, this was my first official exposure to Black Whip. Now, I've known about Black Whip because of the fandom and the fan art that I've seen. So I was laughing as I was like, oh my god, Deku is basically Spider-Man.
Yep.
I was like, oh my god, this man is just Spider-Man.
That's basically what all of us were saying when we learned he got Black Whip. We were like, oh, so he has now become Spider-Man.
He is now Spider-Man. But like, this is my first exposure, and I really got to see some of the limits with like his new power. I know he has a little bit more in the manga. Yeah. But I have now encountered Air Force and Black Whip. Like, now I know more about it officially than I do from like the fan stuff. Yeah. So I would say that is basically my positives when it comes to this movie. Now it's time to go into the negatives. Everything has a flaw, and this movie I will definitely say is kind of one of the weaker movies out of the ones that I've seen so far. I would have to say, when it comes to bombastic action compared to the movies I've seen, and you could correct me because you've actually seen all of the movies so far, but we compared it to the second movie. Okay. The second movie is more tense. Like, it's first off, it's focused on all of Class 1A. Yeah. And it's strictly like the struggles of Class 1A in a true pro-hero situation. Like, it's a worst case scenario for them, but you see how they were able to handle it without the help of any other pro-hero. Like, that is one thing that I really, really liked about it, was that you got to see them act like a true hero agency. And that is just one of my favorite things about it.
Whereas, like, with this one, it's just like, yeah, we have a pro hero with us, so we're not going to act as much as a true hero as we want to be, because we are still limited to being looked after by a pro hero. And I'm like, why? Most of the time, Endeavor isn't even in frame.
Yeah, and, you know, I get it. This is a world mission, you know, it's very important. They're dealing with a very dangerous group, a cult that is spread throughout the whole world. Humorize, they are a very, like, good cult. I could see, like, thinking about it, I can see this cult forming in this type of society. People who are afraid of the quote-unquote meta powers and their theory on how it was like the quirk chaos theory. I can't exactly remember the name of it.
It was the quirk doomsday theory.
There we go. Thank you. The quirk doomsday theory. I can see how people could legitimately come up with an idea like that, where it's like these quirks, because you've even seen it in the manga, how the quirks are slowly but surely becoming more powerful to the point where some people do believe that it will become out of control. We've seen some of that already happen with some of the characters in the show. First off, Shigaraki.
Yeah.
He can't really control, like, other than, you know, if he places all 5 fingers on you, that's when he starts using his disintegration power. He can't just turn it on and off. Ari, her power is to, like, kind of reverse time with the body, but she can't control it. She's unpredictable. It's very dangerous. You can revert back to a point where you're not even born. Like, she can't control how much she can use her powers yet, and she's just a kid. Which is why,
you know, that's why with Eri, now she has to go into training to at least learn how to control the power in order for her not to lose control.
Yeah, so I can see how this power, how this cult could arise in a society like the one that's shown in My Hero Academia. That is a very legitimately realistic in air quotes, how this cult come to be. It wasn't one of those like, oh, we have to create an enemy, let's just create this cult, without, you know, truly thinking about how it actually ties into the whole environment. But yeah, I like the cult. I love all that. And I understand why Class 1A kind of needed to be spread out. Like I said, it is a world mission. It's just, I don't know, it was just, it just seemed weaker.
I did find it interesting, the fact that, you know, with, what was it, Humorize was the cult name? Like, I feel like it was interesting because even though you had people who had quirks side with, you know, this cult, you also had people who didn't have quirks still side with this cult.
Yeah.
Because, like, it was interesting because it's like, oh, you know, like, you had the police department and you're like, oh, they're a just police department. You know, they are going to fight for what's right. When in actuality, they're actually corrupt. Because you got an inside man. And you're like, wow.
That was the one thing that, like, really surprised me, was when Deku got framed for murder. And I was like, what?
Yeah, because that was something that I was not expecting. And then everyone's like, what did you do? And I was like, what do you mean? I didn't do anything.
Like, that was so surprising. Also, it was just, I mean, I understand that Deku is like the head honcho. He is the main protagonist of the entire show. I totally get it. But in the last movie, each character really got to like shine in their own way. They got like the spotlight, and I felt like it wasn't just centered. Like, you had 3 main groups.
Yeah.
That spotlight was really centered on. In this movie, it was just Deku.
Yeah.
I don't know how it was in the first movie. You can tell me how it was. I don't know if it was like shared spotlight, like how it was in the second movie.
Yeah, because like in the first one, like you got more of it. It was more centered around All Might and Deku, and then like toward the later half, then the rest of Class 1A comes in. Well, because like they come in overall, like within the first couple minutes of the film. But then, like, toward the later half, they actually show off what they're actually... Because they're going up against not another gang, but, like, the enemy's basically reinforcements. And, you know, you actually have the rest of Class 1A show off what they can do. And you're just like, okay, this is good. Bakugo pulling up with, you know, all of his howitzer impacts. And you're just like, okay, everyone's actually showing up and showing off what they can do.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, with the second one, you know, it's basically just all of Class 1A. You don't have any help besides them.
Yeah.
And
then you really get to see all of them shine in their own ways. Even Mineta was helpful. I know.
Yeah.
Surprise. But, like, you know, you really get a sense that, like, they all were able to share the spotlight in the second movie. Even though it was kind of mostly centered on Deku and Bakugo, it didn't feel as centered as it was in this third movie, where it was literally just Deku for the majority of the movie. And I understand why. When it comes to the plot of the movie, it makes sense. But still,
this felt like the Bakugo, Shoto, and Deku show, pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much, but we really didn't get to see much of Todoroki or Bakugo
Yeah.
until the third act of the movie where they're going against Humorize at the base.
Yeah.
Like, yes, it was super epic and all, but I mean, in all honesty, this was the Midoriya and Rhodey show.
Yeah, and then like one thing I also want to talk about is that like how is it that like Bakugo now knows how to work with computers now?
Yeah. Also, yeah, there was a bunch of plot holes throughout this whole movie. First off, Bakugo's just instantly like, okay, when's the last updated file? Like,
Yeah.
wait, hold on. We never known you to like be working with computers. I know you're smart and all, but like, holy crap, dude! You just instantly like, all right, when's the last updated file?
You got like all these files, and then it's just like we're not going to be able to go through all this. What's the last updated file? And he's like, oh, found it. And I'm like, how? How did you find these?
And what makes me laugh so hard is like, man, we gotta find a map of like the actual places of the bomb, and he finds it instantly. I'm just like, I was lost. There was in a regular hotel room with a computer terminal, and they're just instantly like, found all the information we needed. What?
Copy that thing onto a flash drive, send it to everyone else, and I'm like, you know it's not gonna send that quickly.
You literally have 20 minutes until the bombs all go off, and you were just like, instant. I was so mad. I was like, okay, the last updated file, that makes sense. But the instant finding of that map makes no sense. We all know it. You know it. I know it. That's a bunch of BS right there. How could they just pull this off? And then
like you got like some of the like villains who showed up and then they just straight up disappear halfway through the fight, and I'm like,
I was about to get onto about
like that one chick that had like the arrows and then she just disappears, and you're like, what?
Anime Hawkeye? Like, are you kidding me? That's another thing that made me so mad, because she disappeared midway through the movie and she never came back. I was sitting there like, she's definitely gonna come back for third act. She has to come back for third act. She is so important, and we see that she survives because you wanna know why? She had a parachute. She parachuted away, and I was like, that's how I know she's gonna come back. No, she doesn't.
She's like, well, he doesn't need me. I'm out of here.
She literally said, for humanity, and then she freaking falls off the helicopter. And we see a parachute open, she flies off the screen, and I'm just like, all right, she's gonna come back for third act when like big things happen. No, not at all. That made me so unbelievably upset, because I'm just like, what is she gonna do if she shows up in the anime or in the manga? I swear to everything in creation, I will just be so mad. I'll type Horikoshi in broken Japanese, like, bro, what do you think you're doing with this chick?
Yeah, because like when she says, you know, for humanity, because like wasn't that like when she was in the helicopter and the helicopter was about to explode, she jumps out, and then like you just hear the explosion, and then you're just like, oh well, she did, but then you still see her moving with the freaking parachute, and you're just like, so she's not dead.
Exactly. Oh, that made me so upset, bro. I was so mad. I was so upset, man. You just don't know. I was so mad at how they just pulled that off, and you know, nothing else was said about it. Not even end credits. Nothing happened in end credits. There was no end credits. The only end credit we got was the freaking reunion of seeing Ayaba freaking just spinning rapidly towards the group. Man, you just don't know how unbelievably upset I am about that. But I know one thing that makes you unbelievably upset. I'm going to give the floor to you when it comes to this: the music choice.
Oh yeah, the whole music choice. I did not like. Okay, look, when it came to the first movie, music choice, I was all right. Second movie, music choice, I was bopping to that mess. This third one, I was just like, nope. I was. It literally almost put me to sleep, and I was like, this ain't the right choice of music for this. I was like, now if it was like something like back in the second movie, I would have been like, okay, this is some good road trip music to go to. But nah, you came in with them low vocals, and I'm like, what is this?
And what's funny, and you know, it's kind of weird because you know we watched it in dub, and The only time you saw subtitles was during the road trip because you were like, "Oh, we have to subtitle the song." So
Yep.
sometimes you hear either Rhodey or Deku say something, but then you'll see subtitles above for the
Mhm.
song. It's a little bit of like a confusing mess. I can only imagine it was slightly even more confusing when it came to the Japanese sub or Japanese dub.
Oh yeah, because I feel like with that one, like up top, you would have the song. You would at least have the song, and
Yeah.
then like at the bottom of the screen, you'd probably have what they're saying to each other. But yeah, that was a little bit of a mess.
Like I can only imagine watching the Japanese sub is like in comparison to Kingdom Hearts 3,
Mm-hmm.
where we have the "Do you want to build a snowman?" dub on
Oh,
top of
in the Frozen world, yeah.
on top of Anna speaking to Sora. Like that's the best comparison I can make. That
Yep.
audio noise is as difficult as what it would have been in the visual noise that you would have seen in the Japanese sub. So
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know what they were doing.
Yeah. I don't know what they were doing with that one either.
Like, I don't know about this one, Chief. Like, I mean, I've seen plenty of like Japanese. That sounds stupid. Seen plenty of anime
Yeah.
where think of like the ending of freaking Tokyo Ghoul,
Mhm.
where season 1, where
Okay.
he's fighting against Jason, and you hear the intro playing in the background. We
Mhm.
don't see subtitles
Uh-uh.
for it. No, we just listen to it. Why didn't they do it with this? I understand that Japanese songs are Japanese, and
Mhm.
some people are like, I wonder what they are saying. You can look up the lyrics later. I just want to watch my movie.
Heck, that's what I do. I sit there and I'm like, you know, I mean, if it's a good song, then I'll go on YouTube, try to find the song, and make sure I put in lyrics in the search bar. But it's just like you have ways of finding out what the lyrics are. But like,
Yeah.
yeah, that was my
Yeah.
only gripe. It was just like this ain't the best choice of music for this.
And maybe they did it because they're just like, well, the song is very important for plot. If you know what the song means, you get it,
Mhm.
you get it. I understand, but I don't feel like the plot should entirely hinge on your song choice.
Yeah,
If that
that's
is
true.
the case, if I needed to know what the lyrics of the song was just so I could truly understand what was happening, I can use context clues. I'm kind of a smart cookie.
Yeah,
I know what I'm doing. So yeah.
yeah.
Sorry, I had to go on that tangent, but
You good? You good?
but no, I understood that this upsetted you more than it like it upsets me when I think about it, but I understand that this upsetted you, probably slightly more.
Due to the fact that like my eyelids were real close to just shutting, and because in all honesty, if I went to sleep, I don't think I probably would have woken back up.
Oh jeez.
Because like I remember my brother had went to sleep, and then like because I had to keep nudging him awake, and like but when it got to that final fight, with Deku, Todoroki, and Bakugo going up against their separate villains, and like when Deku was going up against Flecturn, like I was like nudging my brother. I was like, "Yo, he's doing it!" And my brother woke up. He was like, What's going on?" And I'm like, "My boy went 100%." He was like, "Okay." I said, "Without a handicap."
Dude, also that was kind of funny when he went 100% and I see all the fists coming.
Yep.
I don't know why, I just laughed so hard at that point because you just see Deku go
And then you just see 3 versions of him in a straight line. And
that also made me laugh. I was like, what is happening right
like
now?
everyone in the movie theater that we were at was just dying of laughter. We were like, "What is going on here?"
Deku has learned the power of multiplication. he has
learned
cloned himself.
he learned multi-shadow clone jutsu.
Oh my god, he is the next Naruto. Oh my lord, that's still So you know what? That's a great segue. I'm trying to think what else before we go on to this segue. I'm trying to think of what else I could talk about before we get to the final fight.
I mean, I guess one thing is that like with Rhodey, I mean, it's interesting to see the fact that like he now has to take care of his siblings, and so he's trying to do everything he can to protect them. And
that's another like dark side thing I like about this movie. We really get to see a character in deep struggle.
Yeah.
Because he loses both of his parents, His mom died somehow. I can't remember exactly how they said. But his father gets put into Humorizer and he's executed. And no, he died somehow while working for Humorize. And Rhodey thought, he was doing it, for a certain reason, but it turns out he was still trying to find a way to counteract everything that Humorize was trying to do. Like, it's really sad seeing Rhodey, such a young kid, having to live such a dark life only because of certain situations like that. Oh my god. Oh, it hurt.
Yeah.
But man, I love Rhodey. He's adorable. And then when I found out what his quirk was, also one thing, just a little nitpick, and I know you laughed at me when I told you this. The whole time when I was like, does Rhodey have a quirk? And when Deku asked that, and it was 3 times it was asked before I found out what his quirk was, and twice was asked within 5 minutes of each other. And I was like, I just want to know what his quirk is. And I'm like, Pino, the bird is his quirk. And he's like, I can't lie. Pino shows my true intentions. Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Still though, I was so upset. I was like, I just want to know what his quirk is. I just want to know.
For a moment, like, because like me and my brother, we were like, yeah, what the heck is his quirk? And he was like, yeah, it's Pino. And we were like, okay. In my mind, I thought it was going to be like Mahiro from the second film. And I was like, oh, maybe like, maybe like Pino can like transform into like a dragon or whatever. And I was like, yo, that would be an interesting type of quirk. And then I'm just like, granted, we already have a person who can do that, but I'm okay with it. And he's like, no. He's like, no, I can't lie. And I was like, okay.
I was like, okay, yeah, I get it. And, it kind of goes back to what all the movies kind of like say, where anybody could become a hero. Even with the most like simple quirk like his, he still was able to become a hero that he used to dream of.
Yeah. And
I'm just like, okay, I can see that. And that's Deku's whole thing. His whole thing, whatever somebody is, anybody can become a hero. No matter what you are, no matter what you can do, even if you're quirkless, like what he used to be.
Yeah.
You can still become a hero. And I like that about Rhodey. But so on to the final battle before we continue comparing this to the other movies and before we get on to our last topic of the day. So the last fight, stop. I can't listen.
I know what you were trying to say.
All right, so the last fight with Fleckturn. Like, yes, the fight with Todoroki and that other dude and Bakugo with the twins, with the Blade twins, those were epic. But the fight with Fleckturn was a fight of the mind, and you really get to see a battle of ideals. Yeah. Where Deku is like, your theory is wrong. It there's no scientific proof. But, you really get to see Fleckturn flex his intellect where he's like, have you noticed? Well, no, it's not said out loud. Like, have you noticed how powerful quirks are becoming? If you think back to the kindergarten class that Bakugo and Todoroki had to entertain, you really get to notice and you see the sense in what Fleckturn is trying to present. Where quirks are becoming so powerful to the point where it could literally destroy humanity. And, Deku's trying to, say that, it's not like that, you're completely wrong. But, you really get to think, like, is he completely wrong? I mean, let's think about it in a more logistical sense. We've seen Ari, we've seen Shigaraki.
Yeah.
We've seen the kindergarten class that Bakugo and Todoroki had to take care of. Is it truly wrong to think that quirks are becoming too powerful? I mean, let's look at Deku, for example. He has the power of one for all. Yeah, one for all. I mean, he can still collect quirks and pass it on. Well, he can't physically collect quirks himself, but you basically get to pass on, and the quirks are added onto each other. What if that gets to the point where it's too uncontrollable?
Yeah, because it would get to a point where like the user of One for All wouldn't be able to pass it on to anyone else, because if they did, the quirk would be too, what's the word I'm looking for, like too, I guess oversaturated would be a good term for it, because like if you passed it to somebody else, that person wouldn't be able to learn how to use it. Their body would just break on impact, pretty much.
Exactly. Also, who's to say that the next person that gets one for all doesn't become corrupted by it? Like
Yeah.
I think there is like an arc in, like, I know about minor spoilers of like
Hmm.
current My Hero Academia, and just to warn you all right now, I'm gonna give up this minor spoiler only because I know it, but I don't know the details of it. Three,
Hmm.
2, 1. Deku leaves UA. I don't know for what reason, but he leaves UA, and I don't know if he becomes slightly villain for a second or if he's off on a journey to become more self-discovery of things like that. But I know eventually Class 1A or
Hmm.
Class 2A at this point probably has to kind of like go out and rescue him to bring him back to UA. That's my minor spoiler. I could be completely wrong because I already know Wesley knows the full extent of this. That's why he's laughing right now, because he knows that I could be completely wrong. But
I was gonna say something, but I'm just gonna hold myself back, because okay, do you want me to see if you're correct or not?
yeah, tell me if I'm correct.
Okay, so you are correct in the fact that Deku does leave UA. He does not turn villainous,
Okay.
even though people start to think that he is a villain, even though he's still a hero because he's still saving
Okay.
people. And
Okay.
yes, they're still known as Class 1A at this current point, even though they are now second years. But yeah, they do go and rescue Deku. So yeah,
Okay. Okay. Cool. All right. Cool. So he doesn't become villainous, but let's say in
let's say
you
like
know in
if somebody else was to hypothetically take hold of One for All, and they had other intentions instead of using it for good, they used it for evil. Uh,
exactly
yeah,
with the way that One for All is right now, you could rule one. You can rule all of the world because that's a very powerful quirk,
hmm,
and two, you could just pass it on to somebody else with an even powerful quirk and just make it ultra more powerful. Like, I
yeah,
know the point of One for All is to amplify the quirks that's already been given to you, plus you get the added benefits of the quirks that's been added on previously.
hmm,
It's just you think in the minds of Fleckturn, you hear his theory, you see what he is seeing, and in a way that I think he's right. There is going to become a point where the quirks probably become too powerful.
hmm. But can we also
And
talk about his backstory though?
oh yeah, his backstory made me so sad.
That
So
was
his
just,
quirk,
yeah, yeah. Go on, go on.
I was gonna explain to the audience real quick. His quirk is basically reflection. Haha, funny story. Fleckturn, flexion. Ah, it makes sense now. If you played Ace Attorney, it all comes together. April, May, wind bag. Okay. Anyway, so sorry, I just I thought about that real quick. But no, so Fleckturn, his quirk is reflection, and it's kind of like a Shigaraki situation where he can't turn it off.
Yeah, and so it's like
So
anything that he comes in contact with instantly gets reflected.
like he said, he's never felt the touch of another person. He's never felt love because he reflects them. He couldn't even take out his own life because his quirk won't let him die.
Yeah,
Other than old age, he can't die.
yeah,
So I and it kind of made me sad because I see it as a Shigaraki situation where this is something that he didn't ask for,
hmm,
but it's something that has kind of been forced upon him, and he feels like quirks are a curse upon humanity because his quirk is a curse.
yeah,
And you're just kind of like, I can see why he wants to eliminate it all because he feels like he's curing the world of the cursed quirks. Because throughout all of the show, or throughout most
hmm,
of the show, you've seen quirks that are helpful,
yeah,
like Kirishima,
hmm,
where he can turn himself into rock, and you can see that as a protection quirk. But again, he has control over
yeah,
that. Momo, she can create inanimate objects out of thin air as long as she knows, not out of thin air, from her own body, as long as she kind of knows how to make it.
yeah.
And you can see that as something helpful. Even Aizawa, he knows how
Oh
to
yeah,
turn off other people's quirks just by looking at them.
which is
You can
really
see,
helpful to him, and not only to him but also to other people as well.
yeah, you can see how that is helpful. But then you have to think about the cursed quirks as well. Overhaul,
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of like a cursed quirk, but he has control over that.
Yeah.
Shigaraki has semi-control over his quirk. Ari has not really all that much control
Think of it
over
like
her quirk.
Toga. You also got Twice you can think about. Dabi you can also think about too.
Yeah, Invisigirl you can also
Yep.
think about. Like you can see the benefits of quirks, but you can also see the downfalls of quirks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like like I said, I see this through Fleck Turn's point of view, but you can also kind of see it through Deku's. Now, this is a personal question I would like to ask for you. Whose ideals do you agree with?
Like in terms of Flecturn and Deku, or
Yeah, in terms of Fleck
you
in
just
terms of
fuse them together.
fusion. Ha!
Ah!
But no, in terms of those two, the fight
Someone
of
needs to
ideals.
make fan art of that.
But no, in terms of Fleckturn and Deku.
Because like I can see it from Flecturn's point of view, where it's like, because like if your quirk is a curse, then you start to believe all quirks are a curse.
Yes.
And whereas like with Deku, he's like, no, quirks are a blessing because they can, even though you like let's say in in the case of Eri, like she has this quirk that can rewind people, but to her she's like, I don't want this. Why am I born with this? Whereas Deku would be like, oh, your quirk is like mine. We have to work at it, to basically not basically what's the word I'm looking for? Basically give enough input to at least have an output. If that makes sense. Yeah,
no,
that
I
makes
get
sense.
you. Like you train with it enough to where you know how to use it and how to apply it to become,
Whereas, like with Flecturn, it just it basically what I was getting from Flecturn is that, hey, I didn't know how to train my quirk. Nobody taught me how to train my quirk to where I can use it, without hurting others. So he just let it run amok, and then he's just like, yeah, I never knew, the touch of another person. I never knew this. I never knew that. And I'm like, isn't that on you, though? Because
I feel like this is more of a you problem.
Yeah.
So that last fight, I really liked because you get to see the ideals and you get to see the sort of like darker undertones of the My Hero Academia universe where some quirks are just, they're just kind of cursed and, is humanity better off killing all the other quirk users just to have humanity go back to being normal?
Yeah.
But so let's continue on because I know that this recording is kind of going off a little bit further than expected. But so the ending I liked, Rhodey becomes the hero that he wants to become, and like I said, I cried because I thought he was gonna die. I was so mad because you see Pino kind of disappearing slightly, and I was like, no, my boy better not die.
It was funny because like during the whole fight scene between Deku and Flecturn, me and my brother were like, man, it is sure taking him a long time to get down them stairs.
No, oh man, oh, I was so sad, dude.
Because like we were like, D and I, we were like, yeah, you got this, and then the entire time the camera just stayed on Rudy, and we're like, okay, dude, hurry it up. We know you bleeding, but hurry it up.
We know you're bleeding, but come on, man, we got a show to go. We got a show to do. Oh my god!
Pick up the pace.
So I'm gonna save my next question for an entirely new episode because I feel like I'll say the last question, but we're gonna base the whole episode on it.
Okay.
The canon status of the movies when it comes to the actual anime. I want to make a whole episode on this because I feel like there's a lot to talk about and how it runs into the timeline of everything. But I already know that you've told me that Horikoshi said that this movie is canon within the My Hero Academia universe when it comes to the anime and or the manga. Now, my discussion with you, once I actually catch up with the anime and the manga and watched all the movies, is how this actually goes into the timeline. Like I said, that's a whole entirely different episode on its own.
Oh, definitely.
Do I agree with this? Because my one thing is like, and I'll talk about it in the episode, but I mean, I guess, yeah, sure, you can say it's canon, but is not as canon as, let's say, Mugen Train from Demon Slayer,
Mm-hmm.
where that legitimately is canon,
Mm-hmm.
because you can't continue on to season 2 without watching Mugen Train.
Yeah.
Whereas with these movies, you can possibly watch all and read all of My Hero Academia without ever watching these movies and still be perfectly fine.
Mm-hmm.
But that's my take on it.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, that's
we're definitely gonna save that for another time.
But yeah, so I guess to end off on a more happier note, your favorite scene. I can tell you my favorite scene, and it's because I hate the character. But you go on with your favorite scene.
Okay, so here's the thing, right?
Yeah.
I think my favorite scene, because it's the fight between Bakugo and the Blade Twins.
Yeah.
But the thing I like about it is the fact that they reintroduced Trigger.
Okay, yeah. Because the last we saw of Trigger was with Overhaul arc.
Yeah, and like, you know, you heard about it with Fat Gum and, you know, and Sun Eater and with Kirishima, but it's like you never actually knew what did Trigger look like.
Yeah.
And so I was just like, oh, they're reusing Trigger. And I'm like, oh, snap, that's what Trigger actually looks like. I also think to myself, what would happen if a hero was to use Trigger?
Oh, it would be devastating. Let's see, my favorite scene, and it's only because I hate it so much, is when Kirishima and Tetsu was running down the street because they were looking for the bomb, and then you see Salam saying, "Don't worry, boys, I'll scout ahead," and you see him turn flat, and it's just, no. I hate everything about it.
Him just whizzing through traffic.
Salam's quirk, I like it, but I hate it at the same time. It's so stupid. Why is he dressed up like an ancient Egyptian? Because
he's from Egypt.
I know! But why? What was his parents like? What were their quirks to create a flat kid? Like, that's my favorite scene. It's only because I'm putting too much logic into Salam's birth.
Probably.
But, I just also, like, my other favorite scene is just, Rhodey finally getting a job, and he's like,
oh,
huh.
Yeah.
And he's like, huh, I guess I'll have to deal with that. But then you see Pino just jumping up and down in joy, and I'm like, Rhodey is so happy, and I'm so happy for him. It's such a wholesome scene, and I love it.
Yeah. I think that's also one of my favorite scenes, is like, well, because I like that one, and then there's also the one when Rhodey actually goes back to meet Deku at the airport, and
oh my god,
he's just like, make sure you stay in your own country next time. I was like, dang.
I was like, oof, oof. Alrighty, I'm gonna let you go. You know, we have to end this call because we're running a little bit over on time. But yeah, thank you for inviting me back. I know it's been a while, and I can't wait to come back to the next episode.
No problem.
Alrighty.
Well, guys, that's we're basically just gonna end it. So
yeah.
Thanks for listening.
And we hope you enjoyed your visit to
the Underground
Geek Shack. Bye, guys.